Hello everyone. Welcome to Red Sea Rising. I'm your lovely host, Chase. And today, well, the Cardinals lost against the Colts 27-31. Sorry, if you see me look down, it's cuz I'm looking at my notes. I mean notes. And so, if you see me look down, that's why. They lost 27-31. So, let's break it down. So, we're going to start with team stats. Overall, the team this is the first time the Cardinals have, believe the first time they've outgained their opponent in total yards and in passing yards and lost. Because this one right here, rushing yards, 150, and most of them were Jonathan Taylor and or Daniel Jones. Jonathan Taylor really took over in the fourth quarter. And so we'll talk more about that when we break down the defensive play. But they had 88 rushing yards. They averaged 5.7 yards per play to Indy 6.1. They really outplayed them in majority of the game, except for a couple of stats. Time of possession doesn't matter when you lose. They traded interceptions, no fumbles. They had more penalties for more yards. See, that one right there, because you killed drives doing that. Punted, they only punted twice. But all in all, they played a solid game. They didn't play good enough to win, but they played solid. There's not too much to be upset about here. We're going to go into QB stats here with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, in week 6, he went 27 for 44, 312 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, with an 89.2 passer rating, which is the highest passer rating of any Cardinals quarterback all year. 3 carries for 19 rush yards. Jacoby played better than any of us could have hoped, right? He played great. That being said, there were a couple of times, especially in the first half, where he looked pedestrian. He looked like, an old backup quarterback, right? But it's the way he came out in the second half and really put it all together. He was finding his people. It looks like the play calling was finally for your players instead of trying to scheme up these elaborate plays to do fucking nothing. Drew Petzing was finally calling plays for his star players. Like he was getting Trey McBride. He was getting Trey McBride involved. Marvin Harrison Jr. before he got injured was poised for a big game. Zay Jones was your top receiver. I said before the game, God, I hope Zay Jones doesn't play. Well, he played and he was a top receiver. You can't really be too upset about that. Jacoby was taking what the defense gave him. He was standing up in the pocket, poised, even about to come. He throws it, right? That's something Kyler doesn't do, but something that Jacoby didn't do very well was scramble, and that's something Kyler does to an insane level that nobody else does. Look, I'm not gonna be a Kyler homer here. I love Kyler, obviously, but if this game goes exactly like this, if everything is the same, but it's Kyler Murray, I think the Cardinals win. I only say that because they had that 3rd and 7 in the fourth quarter, the last drive. They needed a first down or a touchdown. 3rd and 7. Jacoby steps up and tries to run, but he's slow. He's not fast enough, so he ends up trying to make 2 people miss, and it doesn't work. If that's Kyler, that's a touchdown. That is a touchdown, or at very least a first down to keep the drive alive. Now, 4th down, you could argue that Trey McBride was held, but it shouldn't have come down to that play. It really shouldn't have. There was other things in that game that could have been done better, but Jacoby played about as well as anybody could have hoped. Now, do I think that Jacoby is going to start over Kyler even when Kyler's fully healthy? No, I don't think that, quite frankly. Mainly because the Cardinals are paying Kyler Murray, so they're gonna want to play him. He's gonna want to be on the field, and you've put all of your eggs in Kyler's basket just to bench him because Jacoby Brissett comes in for one game and throws 312 yards. Josh Dobbs did the same thing a couple years ago, and everyone was like, wow, who needs Kyler when we have Josh Dobbs? And then he fell off a cliff once teams started getting film on him. I think this was a case of Jacoby Brissett not starting in God knows how long, not having any film on him, and he came in and lit up this already shaky secondary. That's just how it is. Jacoby, don't want to take anything away from him. He played fantastic, right? But I don't think he can do this consistently enough to get the Cardinals to win over time, because once teams get film on him, they're gonna know how to stop him. They're gonna know what he likes to do, and they're gonna take advantage of him standing in the pocket, being a statue, and taking hits. He can't take that many hits at his age. Like, after the first time he got sacked, I thought he was done. I thought Jacoby was done. I thought they killed him. But that's my take on it with the whole Jacoby thing. Played well, but again, not good enough to win. When you absolutely had to have it in the fourth quarter, he wasn't able to elevate this team to get the touchdown that they needed. Now we're going to go into Zay Jones' stats. He was your top receiver with 8 targets, 5 receptions, and 79 yards, no touchdowns. Top receiver. He found the open space, sat there, and he actually was able to catch the ball, which is impressive because he hasn't shown that he can catch the ball very well. Next up, Trey McBride, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown. I forgot to put the touchdown on here, but he had one. Trey McBride played well as well, showed why he is an elite an elite tight end, and why the Cardinals paid him all that money. They finally showed what he is capable of. And then last but not least, we're going to get into Marvin Harrison Jr., who left with a concussion, but he's a star player. We have to talk about him. 2 targets, 2 receptions, 32 yards. He was poised for a big game before Jacoby threw a ball where he had across the middle where he had to jump up, and then he got tackled and he slammed his back of his head into the grass and left with a concussion. Do I think the concussion was like a major concussion? No. I think Marv would be back against the Packers, depending on the severity of it. But from what I saw, it didn't look like it wasn't a Tua concussion or anything. Now we're gonna get into the really fun stuff of the defense. The defense in the fourth quarter could not stop Jonathan Taylor. They did an okay job containing him in the first half and even the third quarter. They did a good job of not letting him have any explosives and really taking his game over. But in the fourth quarter, it's like the moment the fourth quarter hits, a switch flips on this team, and they forget how to play football. It's actually insane because in the fourth quarter, they allowed JT to take over, and it all really started when they had him 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It would have been 2nd and 15, but a face mask call and gave them a first 15 yards and a first down, and then Jonathan Taylor didn't look back from there. He just trucked forward, quite literally, and pushed men. Well, he made them look like boys, quite frankly. Mac Wilson Sr. had the interception, and then Jacoby same drive gave it back. You can argue that if the Cardinals get points, at least a field goal, that's a different game, and they're in a better spot to win it. But Jacoby gave it right back. The play looked weird. It looked like the receiver cut and then the defender accidentally ran into him. But even then, the ball was so far behind the receiver, I don't think it really mattered. I think that ball was going to end up getting picked regardless. The play calling, Drew Petzing really opened up the playbook. He finally was like, yo, I have players who can outplay my shitty play calling. Why haven't I been throwing to these guys the whole time? And he finally threw to them, and look what happened. You put your offense in. Your offense was not the problem. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and talk about, oh, Drew Petzing is a terrorist. He was paid off by the Saudis to terrorize the Cardinals organization. No, not this week. Maybe next week. Who knows? I'll do it again. I will. I will sit here and talk about how Drew Petzing is a terrorist, but I still think he's a terrorist. But even terrorists do good things sometimes. He played well. Well, he called well, and opened up. I feel like he opened up the offense finally. He finally realized that he didn't have James Conner and Trey Benson, and he was on his Michael Carter and 2 practice squad players, and Amari got hurt. So what are you supposed to do? I mean, Bam Knight scored 2 touchdowns. Shout out to him. But yeah, no, he really he took his playbook, he opened it. I think regardless if that was Jacoby or Kyler, I think he opens the playbook up like that anyway. I don't think it was like a Jacoby specific thing. I think that's just how they wanted to approach this game. Did it help that Jacoby is like a better pocket passer than Kyler? Yeah, it did. It helped quite a bit, but there were some times where Jacoby's skill set, I want Jacoby's skill set, pocket passing, pocket presence, with Kyler's scrambling ability. That's the ideal. That would have been perfect for this game, because it would have been able to scramble in for a touchdown instead of having to throw it or let Jacoby's old slow ass run. Look, I love Jacoby. It doesn't take away from the fact that he's old and slow. It was like watching him run in slow motion. It was ridiculous. But I'm not an info quarterback. He is, but yeah, no. There were only really 2 plays I had a problem with in Drew Petzing, and that was 2 screenplays. He called 2 screenplays. One was to Greg Dortch, one was to Michael Wilson, where nobody was blocking in front of the receiver. He threw a quick screen to Greg Dortch, but there's nobody in front of the receiver to block. So how are you going to stop the guy that's reading the play, coming in hot in the backfield? You're not. They didn't. They lost a total of 15 yards on those 2 plays. It was ridiculous. It was actually insane. Drew Petzing tried to kill the drives with those 2 plays. He saw that things were going too good. He was like, yeah, nah. I got to kill the drive with this awesome screenplay that I drew up where nobody's blocking in front of the receiver. Whose idea was that? Whoever had that idea needs to be publicly shamed, and public humiliation ritual in Mesa. All right, for whoever drew that play up. I'm gonna assume it was Drew Petzing. But all in all, a loss is a loss. I want to see this play calling when Kyler comes back, because if this play calling is there when Kyler comes back, I think the Cardinals will win a lot more games. They will finally win these games instead of keeping it close. I want to see the aggressiveness stay. You need to be about this aggressive when you have these offensive weapons in Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll even get Michael Wilson involved. He made great catches to keep this to keep them driving in some drives. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.